Meleseini is a best friend of mine that I have grown up with for so many years, and she's just here to share her journey with us. And Meleseini, is there anything that you want to tell everyone about yourself before we start our interview?
Um, well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Meleseini Tuitupou. I am the youngest of four. I myself have four kids. I am married to Alatini Tuitupou. Um, we have a son who is 11 and three girls, 9, 7, and 6. I hope I get that right. If they watch this back, they're going to probably correct me. They always correct me. I never get their age right. But yes, so I am a mom of four, and I'm happily married. And yeah, nice to meet you guys.
And I'm sure you guys are already familiar with her because she's been on, um, I want to say, a time or two for story time,
Yeah.
telling us a little bit about some of her journeys and some of the things that she went through, which she does in another video, which we'll link below. She does talk about her juicing journey. And if that's something that you're interested in, I highly recommend for you to go and watch that video. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's just get started. Meleseini, the big question on everyone's mind is, are you vegan?
So the simple answer to that is no. Even when I was fully plant based, in all actuality, as we know, vegan is, I believe, like a religion. So it's more of fully like no honey, because honey is considered um, an animal product. Even your clothing has to be, animal cruelty free. You don't use animal. So anything really animal related, a true vegan wouldn't use anything that's an animal product, if that makes any sense. So I guess in that sense, even if I was fully plant based in my diet, I wouldn't say I'm fully vegan because I'm not really a fit. Anyways, as a simple answer is no. Now, I try to practice to be as plant based as possible, um, but it doesn't always work out perfectly um, as I'd like it to be. To be honest, my dream is to just be fully raw. That would be like, I mean, so amazing if my entire family and I could be fully raw. But um, yeah, that's a journey in itself, a separate one from the one I'm on. But the
Yeah,
answer is no.
right. I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that the term vegan is much deeper than just no dairy, no meat. It's
Right.
actually there's a whole other um criteria that goes with being vegan that would actually make you an official vegan. And so a lot of times I like to use the term plant-based because to me that better suits who we are rather than saying I'm vegan. But for the simple, for simplicity and for the person out there that doesn't really understand that, saying the word vegan is much easier because it sort of captures, what we're trying to portray out there.
Yeah.
But so is your family vegan?
No, so when we transitioned, which I talked a little bit about my story in the other video, but when we transitioned, um, we were all actually full on plant based. Even my husband, who didn't join the plant based on his own choice until a little bit later. So when I transitioned, um, it was just me and the kids, and I didn't want to pressure him. I was like, I know, as a Polynesian, we love our meat, so I will only cook plant based food, which he loves plant based food, anyways. We actually enjoy eating dishes that they prepare at potluck. But he didn't transition on his own until a little bit later. And it didn't take him long because I transitioned for a different reason. He watched What the Health on Netflix and it was like instant for him. And he became fully plant-based. And we were for a while. And then he just kind of went back and just became vegetarian. I would say probably pescatarian, but like literally he probably eats fish like once a year or something like that. Like, and we're not all fully plant based, but we do not purchase or cook meat in our house anymore. I guess it's safe to say that. Does that answer the question?
Oh yeah, that answers it. And actually, that's what I tell a lot of people is when people come and talk to me about transitioning, they ask me for tips. I always tell them, start slow. And the way that we started was exactly like that. We just don't buy it for the house.
Yeah,
So it just makes it way easier for me
yeah.
not to cook it. But yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. So how long would you say it has been? How many years? Because I was gonna say like 5+ years, but then I was like, has it been that long or has it been longer than that?
I can't really say the exact time frame, but I know the way I always calculate how long it's been or close to it is I think back to how many uh Thanksgiving vegan turkeys we've had. And that's how I count. I'm like, okay, I think we've had like 4 or 5 vegan Thanksgiving now. So I think it's about 4 or 5 years or something like that. But I'm not too sure on the exact timing.
I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, and people have watched our videos, like my testimony, your testimony, Ashley's, and they're probably like, wait, why are we following these guys?
Right.
But what I do want to say is I want to say that that we're here to share everything that we've learned and also all the recipes that we've sort of perfected in our own kitchens. And to me, I feel like that is super helpful for anyone that's looking to transition. Uh,
Yeah. And in addition to that, I feel like um we have at different points in our lives, we've either practiced it fully, like we went fully plant-based, we've incorporated maybe a little bit of organic eggs here and there, but for the most part, I would say we try to be as plant-based as possible, but it can never be perfect. Like for example, when we were fully plant-based, if we happen to stop by a fast food restaurant, right, and we buy like bean burritos at Taco Bell or like a veggie burger with no mayo, right? That's as plant-based as you can get it, but I don't know if their bread and their tortillas were made with eggs.
right, right.
I'm not gonna sit there and be like, "Oh my goodness, like there's eggs in this, like like there's just like little things that sometimes you just like it's in the bread that you buy at the store and it is what it is. And it's not always perfect. And even when you try to be as super plant-based as possible, I know for myself personally in our family, it's not as perfected as a lot of plant-based people that follow on social media and see out there. They do it very well. I mean, it's like right out of the dirt, right out of the garden, and everything is fresh and organic, and they're living the true plant-based lifestyle. But
Exactly, right.
but we do the best with what we have, and especially living in the city, there's only so much you can. I mean, that's not an excuse, but yeah, I just want to second what you were saying. We what we share on our channel are delicious um recipes, plant-based recipes, and sharing that it is possible to be able to enjoy a meal without meat,
Hmm.
especially as a Polynesian. So
Yes.
our journeys are not perfect, and and that's something, and I think that could be very relatable for a lot of Polynesians that transitioning or change, not just in food, but any type of change can be difficult sometimes. And we're just here to encourage that we're right here with you. It ain't easy, but it's doable.
It is doable, and I want to say a high percentage of the time we are pretty plant based.
Right,
and and then on top of that, um I also think it's important that everyone understands, just like what you said, which is why I'm glad that you pointed that out, is that there's this level of perfection that people want to portray on social media that doesn't really exist in real life. And so, what we want to do is we want to be as transparent as possible so that you see that it is a journey for everyone. Like, not, no one is perfect. Like, but we do want to, there's always that high goal that we're all trying to reach and trying to obtain, and always working towards that. But that's
right.
what we want everyone to understand. It's a journey for sure.
Yes. Yes.
So I guess the next thing that I want to know is how and why did you choose a plant-based lifestyle? Was it for health reasons? Did you want to lose weight? Because this is a big one for a lot of people. They say, I want to be plant-based because I want to lose weight. Or was it a spiritual thing, um, for mind, mental health, spiritual, like, was it that kind of thing? So that's what I want to know.
Well, it was I shared a little bit of this in the other video, but anyways, so in a nutshell, um I got super sick. It was my family had come up from SoCal, and we had a regular holidays. It was December, and it was we just had the regular holidays feast where we make turkey, we make everything like the whole works. And after they left, I had like really, really bad food poisoning. Like it was the worst. I couldn't, anyways, it was just really, really bad. And so for like, I think for at least a week, um, I was throwing up and all kinds of stuff was coming out. And I just felt so sick. Couldn't even really eat. And so at the end, when I finally got better, I physically felt that like my body was cleansed. It probably wasn't, but it was like a feeling like all the toxins, like everything bad was out of my body. And I honestly physically felt like I had like a clean palate, like a fresh, I guess you could say a clean slate. It probably sounds weird, but I really felt like, wow, everything is flushed out. I have nothing. So I thought I literally on the spot was like, man, this is like a perfect opportunity to restart and just start giving my body good stuff because that was a really bad food poisoning experience. So I just remembered that after thinking that, I called my husband and I said, "Hey, I think I'm officially like out of the woods now. Like I'm better and because I feel flushed out, I only want to put like good stuff in." So I was like, "So I just want to let you know, like, I think I'm gonna go full vegan now, and I'm gonna just only, and the kids will also be fully vegan, and I'll only buy like vegan stuff." And yeah, what do you think about that? And he's like, "Man, I think that's like such a great idea. Like, I'm down." And it wasn't hard for him because he loves like vegetarian dishes or vegan dishes. And I'm not saying I'm like a chef or anything, but I wasn't even worried about like cooking at home because I knew like I'd be able to make really bomb food at home and we're not gonna die just because like we don't have meat. As long as like the food tastes good, like we should be okay to have a plant-based lifestyle. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm down." I was like, "You could get your meat fixed somewhere, but I'm not buying the meat, and you can still eat it on your own if you want to cook like separately." And my thing is simplicity. Like, I'm not trying to cook like three different dishes, like cook for whatever for the vegans and then cook like a meat dish. Like, that's too much work for me. I got 4 kids. I'm trying to do as least amount of work as possible. So I just told him, like, if you want to do me, like, you buy it, you cook it, you do your own thing. But what I'm going to be providing on our kitchen table are going to be vegan dishes. And he was like so down. He was so down. So that was really, it was more of I got sick, and then that was it. I had never gone back. I never ate meat since then.
That's a huge help when your spouse is on board with your decision
Yeah.
and is supportive. That's huge. And also, I think it's pretty cool that you weren't afraid to just get out there and start cooking, because a lot of people, that's their fear, is like, is the food going to taste good? Is it going to be something that we all enjoy? But a lot of times people don't realize that you can cook the same exact thing, spice it up and everything, but you just swap it out with vegan friendly products, or take the meat out and you won't even miss it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty interesting. And thanks for sharing that. Was it hard? Was it hard at all for the kids?
So, yes, because we had just like society teaches us to and conditions us to not maybe society, I don't want to say that, but like in our upbringing, we're just used to like, oh, McDonald's, nuggets, like, or whatever, however we normally cook. And we just become so dependent because we're so used to it, whether it's from society teaching us or from like our upbringing, we're just so used to it. And my poor kids were like, what? Um, but it was just a shock because I was like, hey guys, we're going to stop eating meat. And they're like, what? That's weird. But it wasn't hard because everything I made was bomb for them. So, they just transitioned over fine. It's like as long as you have like a bomb plate in front of them, like I feel like the kids are gonna be fine. I mean, the concept in their mind would be maybe kind of weird that they're not gonna be eating like McDonald's nugget like Happy Meals anymore. That concept might be like a little bit strange for them, but as long as their belly is happy, like I think they'll be fine like transitioning over. But I'm not saying that that's the general rule of thumb across for all kids. I just know that praise the Lord happened just to be the case for my kids.
Praise God, because I don't know how it is for other parents either, but I feel like kids are so simple and so
Yeah.
easy. You put some food in front of them and they either like it or they don't like it, but they're not concerned about, does this have meat and does this not have meat? Like, what is this? But I do feel like kids are very, very simple. And in the society that we live in today, I feel like
Mhm.
we're kind of sort of, everyone is kind of sort of handing over the reins more and more to kids to make decisions.
Mm,
Actually should be for parents to make. Like, this is the only time where we can make the decision of what our kids are going to eat, because once they get to a certain age, they're out there on their own making their own decisions. But while they're small and little, and we're able to like teach them certain values that we want them to have, or that we have, that we want to pass down to them, or just things that we think would be good for them in the long run, this is the best time to do it. Because if you wait till they get older, it's very hard, because by that time they already have their own mind, and they're already making their own decisions. But
yeah,
yeah, so
I agree with that. I feel like and I'll just share this little quick story. We underestimate how they can process and understand things. And I'm not saying that as like I'm not a psychologist or anything. I'm just sharing from my experience with my own kids. So I remember one time, um, I was it was like a time where I wanted to teach them, like eating in small portions or eating just raw, or like I'm like imagining like if all we had was we're stuck somewhere in, or like if we were just in the garden because excuse me, my father-in-law grows like a garden here at our home. Sorry, excuse me. And I was trying to teach them like if we couldn't like purchase food like we normally do, and we just had to eat like right out of our garden, that it is possible. So for like a week, I only bought like a veggie platter. You know those like veggie platters that you at potluck where they have like a little section of carrots, section of cauliflower, and peppers. Anyway, so I bought that, and for dinner, like we ate fruits for breakfast, and then for dinner, like We went to the park and I was like, okay, this is it. This is all we're gonna have for dinner. And they literally looked at the platter like, what do you mean? Like we have to eat this cauliflower and broccoli? Like this is all we're having? And I'm like, yeah, like imagine if we couldn't buy food, if we're like all we could eat out of this stuff in our garden. Like sometimes like it might get tough like that. And I want you guys to know that you can survive. Like it's not the end of the world if we don't, if we don't, I mean, because it's like low key kind of a luxury, like to even have like these vegan meats in our kitchen. But if there ever comes a time, anyways, so the first day was really a struggle for them. But like by the end of the week, like they absolutely loved it. They were like, oh my goodness, like I love it. Like I love cauliflower and broccoli. But I didn't just force them to eat it. I actually like had a whole conversation where I explained to them exactly what I just mentioned about like what if this happens. And also, anyways, the original diet was like you just picked it right off the tree and ate it. Like it was fresh. And when they processed that and understood it, um, and over time, in a matter of days, their palate just adjusted and they were fine. And like they weren't even complaining. They were like excited. We're at the park and they were eating this like platter of raw veggies for dinner. And they were fine, you know. But I just, it was so funny because when I was telling Thini that I was going to do that, he just felt so bad as a Tongan parent. He's just thinking like, what, they're just gonna eat like lettuce and stuff? I'm like, dude, it's gonna be fine. Like they're not going to die from what we're giving them. If anything, it's better than the processed stuff that we give them every day. Anyways, he was like actually pretty impressed by the end of the week how the kids took it. But my point was, Felicia, I'm so sorry for dragging on, but sometimes we just underestimate that our kids can process and understand things and adjust accordingly. They really can. Like they'll understand and they'll be fine. And a lot of times the tremendous fuss that our kids throw is because we fuss sometimes. So they
Exactly.
follow suit. And again, not talking in general, I'm just speaking from my experience with my own kids. So
Exactly. And I do want to read this Bible verse from Proverbs. It says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." And I absolutely love that promise because, our kids, we don't know what path our kids are going to choose in the future, but we do have this hope and belief from the Bible that tells us if we do our job now, if we do it well now, then no matter where they go in life, they will always come back to what you taught them. And I do see that in my own life. You know, we've all been there, done that. Teenagers, making decisions as we grow. And a lot of times I look back and I say, man, that Bible verse is just so true. And I also see this quote. It says, "Children learn more from what you are than what you teach," which goes back to what you were just saying right when you were about to end. That I see a lot of parents, they will expect their kids to reach this standard that they themselves have not even obtained, and they're like, no, you're going to eat like this and you're going to talk like this and you're going to walk like this. And then the question is ma'am, are you doing that? Or sir, are you doing that? Because they are the best. They are best at copying what they see. So
mhm.
they're just little humans copying what they see around them. So if you're the one that they're with all the time, everything that comes out from their mouths and what they're doing and saying and eating and everything is just a replica of yourself. So when you get upset with them, you kind of got to step back and think, oh Lord, have mercy, like forgive me.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we are. But moving on from that, I guess the next question would be, um, I think you've already answered if it's hard, but being in a Polynesian community, when you go out to like celebrations and family events, is it hard for your kids? Is it hard for you to maintain a plant-based diet?
Um, yes, in the beginning, because people were just adjusting. When people are just adjusting to a new change, it's it's just different. Now, from my end, normally it's just really simple. If you go to a gathering, whether you know that they're going to provide food there for like vegan friendly food or not, I feel like preparation is just the best key. So you either you either just prepare your own food so you can go eat there, or you just eat ahead of time. Or if there has been times where we were unprepared and we showed up, and there's like somehow always something, and my kids already know, like there's always going to be something that you can just eat. It might not be the best healthy thing, but if you're there and you're hungry, like, and all there is like rice, or all there is, if it's like a Tongan function, if all there is that we can eat is like gumala, talo, and ufi, and because we can't eat like the meat and stuff, it's fine. Like we'll eat that and it'll be fine. And it'll be our fault for not being prepared. But when we go, it is kind of things sometimes we're like, oh, come on and eat. And we've had to adjust to just answering simply and saying, oh, no, we don't eat meat. It is a shock at first for people, but nobody fusses about it. Like, and surprisingly, like when we go to events, they'll probably only feel bad that they're eating and you're not eating. But as long as you just like engage in the fellowship, like they'll be okay. And nobody's like sitting there judging you like, what a bunch of weirdos. Like, why aren't they eating meat? So and a lot of times it becomes like a conversation starter where, they kind of like, well, what why are you doing this? Like you guys don't eat meat. So that's also a good opportunity to just share a little bit of, this lifestyle that we've um switched over to. But also another little tip is sometimes you can also offer to just bring a couple of dishes to add to whatever their menu is, and you just bring your own food, and then you guys can all eat together and enjoy together. Now, in the beginning, it was kind of just a little different for my in-laws because, as you know, like grandparents love to spoil their grandkids, and it's like the go-to in our Tongan community. I feel like, they want to get them Happy Meals and McDonald's. So it was a little different, but I feel like for me personally, the transition has been great. Like everyone has been supportive, and they actually enjoy a lot of the vegan dishes that we make, and they already know, like every time we have like a family function, they always just ask us, oh, just make a separate table, and just make a vegan vegan dishes in case somebody else might be vegan, but then that way you guys can have some food to eat too, and they'll come over and eat some of our food too. So it has not been too difficult. I feel like we've never experienced anybody being like weird or judgmental towards us that we're not, you know. And we don't really even act like, oh, we don't eat meat, like, that's disgusting. Like we never do that. We never do that, like when we're around people who eat meat, just because it's kind of rude, it's rude to like siolalo or look at them some type of way just because they choose to eat whatever they eat. People choose whatever they choose, but with your choice, you just have to be prepared when you go to places where there's not going to be anything for you to eat there. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh yeah, no, that definitely answers my question. I mean, it's basically the same thing that we do.
Yeah.
I already know a lot of times that I know a lot of times if I'm going somewhere, there won't be anything for us to eat, but
Mm.
you can always eat the sides. There's always
Yeah.
salad. There's always, there's always something on the side of whatever everyone's making. Plus, I'm always assigned to bring something that's plant based because they know, okay,
Same.
your family's the only one that's plant based, so bring something to add to the table so that you guys have something to eat because nobody knows how to cook. I mean, as far as like when we go to other stuff, they're like, all right, you be in charge of whatever you want to eat, and
Yeah.
then I'm doing it. And I'm like, all right, cool, sounds good. So I'm just like you. A lot of times we have to cook, and then on top of that, I feel like when I go to events, I never I don't know. I never really care if they have plant-based options or not
Mm.
because I always know like, okay, we're here to celebrate that person or wherever we're
Mm.
at. And they don't have to accommodate me because right after the thing's over, we're gonna stop somewhere and eat. Majority of the time, If we're at a wedding or something and there's nothing really there for us to eat, we're gonna stop and eat somewhere right after. So to me, it's not a huge deal because after the event's over, I'm gonna go find me food that I really enjoy. So,
Yes.
anyways, okay, cool. That's a cool tip. I like that. Prepare ahead of time, make food, and bring it, or eat somewhere
Yeah.
after the
Yeah.
function's over. So, the last question is what is the one thing you would tell people that want to transition? What advice would you give them?
Um, I don't know if I want to advise anyone because I just, I don't have it together. But I do want to encourage people that it is possible and you just have to trust. So I struggle with appetite. Um I don't know if it's a medically official, but I feel like I have an eating disorder, like it's just like it's an up and down journey in my own personal health and trying to lose weight. It's just up and down, like when you're up, it's like really good and you're like organic and everything is like in portions and you're taking really good. And then when you're in low, it's like all the unhealthy stuff, like it's almost pointless sometimes to be vegan because it just gets so bad. So I don't know if I'm qualified to really advise anyone, but I just want to say, like, don't give up. If this is a a goal of yours is to become plant-based, don't give up. You keep going, you keep striving, and don't be afraid to be, especially in our Polynesian community. Don't be afraid. Believe it or not, like it's I'm trying to think of how to say it. I feel like generally speaking from my experience, no one's going to bash you for making a decision like that. I mean, maybe people, here and there, your cousins might make jokes like, "Oh, what you gonna eat today? Leaves?" Like, "Oh, we at this point we just gonna go pull out the grass and that's what you gonna have for." I mean, little jokes in that's to be expected, but just don't be afraid to just make your decision to be plant based and stand by it. And the transition, all I'm gonna say is, I know that the transition for me, I could never imagine it being hard because like I said, I have like an eating disorder and I tell Felicia this all the time. I trust my cooking instinct because I'm fat. Like I'm not even worried if there's like no meat, if I only have like a handful of like ingredients in my fridge or my freezer, because I'm fat, I'm gonna make something bomb. Like that sounds so weird and dumb, but I always trust that I'm going to whip something up that's bomb. Because one thing about me is, if I'm not gonna eat meat, but I'm gonna eat good because I'm gonna eat good.
Yes.
Or not, I'm gonna whip something up bomb just because, like, when you have like that appetite taste bud problem, like everything is just gonna taste really, really bomb. I'm not saying that I know how to cook. I just know that I'm not gonna struggle in that department. If there's meat or not meat, I'm gonna whip something up bomb because I'm a foodie. Like I love eating. I love it's like a whole experience. Um, if I sit and I enjoy it, it's just so. That's why I struggle. But anyways, so all I'm saying is just, and then trust. And now in 2022, now we're in a better position to be able to transition over than way back then. Because I remember when we first came in the late 90s and I tried vegetarian food for the first time, all they had back then was like to cook with was like gluten and the seitan stuff that they make from scratch, tofu, and then that was it. Like they didn't really have like good alternatives like Loma Linda products, but like we didn't really know about that back then. um but now they have like all kinds of stuff, Impossible, Gardein. So for transitional purposes, it is definitely, I promise you, like Especially like there was one of the questions was like, is it hard to be a vegan in the Polynesian community, or how did you transition? How did you learn how to make vegan food? I don't make anything new. I really don't. I make literally all the same things that I used to make. I just have experimented. And also, if you go on our channel, I do have just like a very basic starter pack on which plant-based alternatives to use. But I'm telling you, people think like when you go vegan, you have to like figure out how to cook, like you have to cook new dishes, like learn about this. Yes, that's great. You should also always do research. But like Felicia's saying, small changes. Girl, just cook the same stuff you normally cook. I still be cooking lu. I still be making like chop suey. I still be making kale. All the same stuff that I usually don't really eat before. I cook it the same. I season it the same. I just add some bomb stuff in there. And sometimes even for kale, believe it or not, sometimes I don't even add like the alternatives. You just have like a big old like thing of curry and veggies. Bomb. Super
Bomb.
bomb.
Yes.
But I think the only advice is just trust yourself and just stand by it. Like when you make that decision, don't be with bravery like, oh, I don't know, like people are gonna, girl, just go for it. Just do it. You can do it. And just a closing verse is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Amen.
Lean on Christ's strength to be able to make that transition, if indeed it is. Um, and I second, third, and fourth what Felicia said. Start small. You don't even have to be throw out all your meat today. Even if you start incorporating one plant-based dish a week, just one plant-based dish a week, even that small change, you're like, okay, I can have like spaghetti with Gardein meatballs. Like this is actually pretty bomb.
Hmm.
And you will also experiment. Um, I've figured out how to make plant-based bomb plant-based mac and cheese. You go figure it out. And as a poly, if it's one thing we do, is cook and eat. And I'm telling you, y'all gonna figure it out. It's possible. You can do it. If I can do it, I promise you, literally anyone can do it. Anyone can do it.
Thank you so much, Meleseini, for sharing. And I think that that was the perfect way to end off our live session. We hope that you were inspired by anything that we might have talked about today. And we hope that you can follow us and that you can like and subscribe to our channel. We would really appreciate it. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye. Thanks again for tuning in. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell. We upload a new video every Monday. And remember, no matter where you are on this journey, there's always room for you right here on our table at Poly Vegan Kitchen.